You have everything, but you don't have yourself. Today we are going to be reacting to another Osho video. See what he has to say about this.
What do you think that means just off the bat?
That you're so caught up in materialism in the world that you don't have a grip on who you actually are or the reality of, your true nature, maybe.
Interesting. All right, well, I guess let's see what it says, right?
Let's do it.
Do you think it's true that the more light you have, the better you can see what is trivial and outmoded in your conditioning?
Right. The more comfortable you are, the more luxurious you live, the more richness in all the dimensions of life, more is the possibility for you to become aware of one thing, that you have everything, but you don't have yourself, that you are surrounded by all the luxuries. There is nothing more to be added to it. But who are you? Living in a palace. But what the hell you are doing here? The question is bound to happen. The poor man cannot ask it. He is looking for bread. He is looking for his children's medicine. He has no house. You think he will start inquiring about his interiority, about truth, about the meaning of life?
Is there a meaning?
It is impossible for a poor man to be religious. That's why I say I am the rich man's guru. It has nothing to do with me. Only the rich man has the opportunity to inquire beyond the mundane things. The poor man, I feel sorry for him, but I cannot think that I should go to Ethiopia and teach meditation there. They will kill me. And I am not suicidal. The world has enough technology now. If its old prejudices and stupidities can be dropped, we can make the whole world a paradise. Nothing is lacking. If we can reach to the moon, if we can create so much destructive power, why we cannot create creative power? The same power can be transferred into creativity, because power is always neutral. You can burn your cigar by the lighter, you can burn your house too. Cigar does not, your lighter does not give you any instructions what to do. Science has made available all the energies. You are using them in the service of death. Use them in the service of life. I would like the whole world to live so luxuriously that people start becoming bored with luxury. You should ask me how I am bored with Rolls Royces.
How are you bored with Rolls Royces?
About halfway there, I thought we'd stop it. I feel like this is a subject we've kind of talked about before.
No doubt.
The idea of like needing a certain amount of affluence to maybe create a fertile ground for like being able to question things on a certain level. Because when you're poor and you're like living hand to mouth and you're in pure survivalism, you may not necessarily have the time to be asking some deeper questions beyond, you know, just how am I going to get some food tonight?
Yeah, and there seems to be a person for everybody. You know, your first day of kindergarten, you go there and you've got a teacher trained on how to teach kindergartners. They're not teaching them vectors and calculus in kindergarten. You start where you're at. You tend to the part of the garden you're at. And so for a lot of people, it's probably, you know, a lifelong struggle just getting that one part covered, you know. I mean, I kind of seems like spirituality comes in. Like, it's like the wise know what to say to every person to salve them, because that's a pretty tough pill to swallow. Let's be real for a sec here. Imagine I could really frame it in a way that you could accept, or it could be framed in a way that most of us could accept, where it's like, look, real spirituality ain't going to be, you're likely not going to reach it in your life, because you will be clamoring to meet your needs, and your needs include things like, you know, you've been conditioned to feel like you need certain types of approval. So you're going to have to, like, you're going to be chasing certain status and societal satiation for a long time, because you're not going to feel right without a certain amount of status upgrades and luxury upgrades and stuff like that. And that's gonna be like a lifelong endeavor, you know. And so the higher echelons of spirituality, the only spirituality you'll find in there is like, you know, pseudo spirituality, cult spirituality, you know, community spirituality. You're not going to find the great deep mystical spirituality likely. You know, you might even have mystical experiences if you go and you take ayahuasca in some jungle or something like that, or you go on some meditation retreats, or you squeeze in some deep meditation, but you probably won't have like a sustained grand awakening walk with deep consciousness the way that great sages do. If I could get that through to you, that's like devastating in something. It's like all that stuff that's suffering and hurts so bad, you're only going to push pieces around to kind of give yourself the illusion that you've cured it your entire life.
Yeah.
You're going to march off to the afterworld like that.
To be devil's advocate, if you were like not on what you said, but on what his point here about the affluence thing, I sometimes think also on the other side of the spectrum, in the ultra poor range, you may be in a place where you don't feel like you have anything to lose. So that may stir in you, you know, taking on chances that you normally wouldn't take, risks that someone who may be in like already established in the rat race, or like a middle class type of a character, they're like, well, I can't lose, I can't take the risks. But someone who doesn't have anything might be like, I got nothing to lose, man. I'm just gonna try a bunch of stuff and I'm, you know, see where it takes me.
What I mean is, from a teaching perspective, you know, if you know how to diffuse an angry mob, you should likely do it. You should say whatever needs to be said or do whatever needs to be done to calm down an angry, violent mob that in its wake is like hurting children and causing chaos. It's like you can say something and that'll calm them down. What I'm saying is the message here is too painful for most people to take. Osho was like a master of controversy. He was controversial. His whole life was controversial. And he died when he fled the States and he went off, it was like everything about it was controversial. That's not the same thing as the people that make you feel better. And some people, their job is to make you feel better, but the truth is the truth, regardless of any of that. It's like you could be deluding yourself so deeply, whether you're poor, rich, whatever. I kind of feel like I understand in a basic idea what he's saying here, like you are really hypnotized into thinking certain things are going to cure you, and you got to go figure it out for yourself. You got to go get some of these things so that you realize the emptiness there, and you will not just believe it. And I think the reason why that is for lots of reasons. It's not just because most things are only deeply understood at an experiential level. It's because not everyone can handle certain types of things. Like they're not built for certain things. Imagine going up to a group of birds and telling them about enlightenment. Being like, why aren't you guys enlightened? They're like, it's not even they're operating with different machinery. What he's pointing to here is, it's like, okay, so are you going to be so selfish that you're not going to live your life still trying to improve? Even if you might happen to be one of these people that, in so many of your scriptures, there's kind of an indication of the exclusivity of the higher echelons of these things. Yeah. You going to deny that? You're just going to like put it out of your head and dilute yourself? Probably. You probably are going to do that. And what difference does it, like, as long as everything's progressing and moving on, I think the bottom line here is for those that can hear and for those that can accept and for those that can know, it's just, then it's there available for them. Here's something. Here's the last thing I'll say, and it's going to sound harsh. It's not popular, but what do you want? What did you think this was? Like Oprah or something? It's like a classic that stupid people don't know they're stupid. I don't mean somebody with like a deficiency or somebody with like an ailment. I mean somebody that's like not that intelligent. They don't accept that they're that way. They think they know. Ignorance thinks it's wise. And that could apply to me, that could apply to you, that could apply to any one of us. You don't know till you know. And so there's that aspect of it. But remember, there's more to this life than you. And if you improve and pass the torch of everything you've learned onto the next generation and onto the next and onto the next, maybe that can be some consolation. It's like, why has it got to be, I need everything for me. Well, why? You haven't done very much investigating if that's the realm you're still operating in. Is like, it's got to be for me, and it's got, because I am special. I would say do a little more inquiry, and then, because, as of recently, it's become more and more clear that a good chunk of this is self-obliteration. But whatever, that's a subject for a different time, All right, we continue on.
Rolls Royces, anybody will be bored. And my people are going to try to have 365. They are bent upon to bore me. What you can do, and the whole earth is capable for the first time to be so luxurious that you don't feel any material need. All material needs are fulfilled. Then what you are going to do? There is nothing else than meditation. That is the only door that is left still open. All other doors you have knocked and seen, there is nothing. Only one door is still open, inviting. And whoever has entered that door has never come frustrated, disappointed. Not a single case in the whole history of humanity that anybody who has reached the center of his being was disappointed, felt meaningless, was miserable, committed suicide. Not a single exception. That's why I say meditation is a scientific thing. That's how science works. If you can find something without any exception, it becomes a rule. Meditation is a scientific method because in the whole history, nobody has denied that it does not lead you to the ultimate blissfulness. This is such a strange phenomenon that these politicians go on sympathizing with the poor people, with the starving people, with the dying people. And the same politicians go on throwing food into the sea. Ethiopia is dying, and Europe has thrown thousands of tons of fresh oranges into the ocean. And the political leaders go on talking about sympathy, compassion. The religious leaders go on talking about sympathy, and they are against birth controls. They are against abortion. It should not be legalized. It's strange. They are responsible for creating more population, that means more poverty. The politicians are putting 75% of their nation's income into war, army, nuclear weapons, and people are dying, even their own people. 30 million people in America itself are on the streets. And you are creating nuclear weapons, and you are making efforts to reach to the Mars or to the moon. You must have gone nuts.
Funny, I don't think that there's anything per se wrong with like space conquest. And by the way, when I said self-obliteration, I obviously I did not, in case it wasn't obvious, I did not mean suicide. I meant like egoic self-obliteration when I said that. And then the final thing is, I wonder if he chose to dress like that pink wizard costume, or if his followers decided he was, because he wears that different iterations of that big shoulder pad thing. Yeah. Which is just so 80s and everything else.
How was he trying to? I got a little lost actually, kind of near the end. I was like, well, how is he tying that in? What is it about the politicians and the homeless, and what did that have to do with the first part?
Because he said you won't allow abortion, and so you're increasing the population, and there's all these poverty-stricken people.
Yeah.
And then he was just saying where they put their attention. You know, they don't put their attention into raising the culture. They put their attention into these other endeavors that are grandiose, like space travel and building bombs and everything like that.
Rather than teaching meditation or consciousness or getting people to a place where they can actually, that's, sustainable living, right?
I've taken for granted so much of my life where people are at, like just with utter confusion when I face people and where they're at. Like this keeps coming to mind, so I think I'm going to tell it. I don't know if I ever told this story on here, but I'll tell it now. I was in a gas station one time, and I used to, on my way to work, stop at this gas station every day, and there was a ethnically different from the area we live in woman behind the counter.
Yeah.
At least at the time, when there was less, what is it called?
Immigration?
Diversity around here. And this sort of Indian-looking woman, I think, was behind the counter, and I used to chat it up with her every day, and she was like, oh, this morning was crazy. These guys came in, and they were, like, hurling racial slurs at me. And I said something like, some people are assholes. And then this guy, way bigger than me, so he would be punching downwards to say this, he said, "I'm an asshole." And that was crazy enough. I turned around, I was staring at him. And then another dude from the corner, I didn't even think they were together, said, "Yeah, I'm an asshole." The pride, the arrogance, you know, and I don't think our audience that's going to be like, I don't think our audience are going to be the type of people who are like, "Well, I'm one too." That'd be weird, you know what I mean? Why are you watching this? You know? So I think but anyway, that's what happened. And I was like, even thinking about it now, it stirs a little bit of like anger because I get really angry. I have a tendency because of my own problems to get angry at ignorance. I don't do the wisest thing, which would be to see it for what it is. That's where they're at, man. Who knows what those guys' dads were like? Who knows what kind of world they live? They just look like blue collar guys. Well, I'm an asshole. I was saying that to her because somebody was racistly hurling racist comments. I talked to her every day. She was a nice lady. And they were saying something specifically racist. And so I said, some people are assholes, and they go, "Well, I'm an asshole." Good for you? Like, what the hell? And so there's plenty of that on the planet. There's plenty of that in the West. There's plenty of that everywhere. People that are pridily ignorant.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work for humanity to do. They're just not there. You couldn't come to them and be like, "Hey, did you know with enough, you know, self-inquiry and all this stuff, the way you suffer now, you could end that." They're like not even going to be able to, like, "I don't even know what you're talking about." Interesting at the end there, he added the kind of thing, which is a little bit of hope, is meditations there. I think he's making a strong point when he says, "I'm the rich man's guru." I do think that you don't have to be rich to start pursuing some of these things and start meditating and stuff. But the likelihood that you'll do that with the veracity that you would do that at when you've lifted every other stone starts to diminish.
Yeah.
Like by the time you're like, "Look, I've traveled the world. I've sat at the feet of the wisest of teachers, and none of it's it." Yeah. It becomes a deeply personal journey to awakening. And I think that's just super duper rare and not likely to happen at the lower levels because it can't. They're just not. Not everybody's there. You know what I mean?
One of Jim Carrey's quotes is very close to what Osho was saying there, saying how much he wished everyone could get everything, have all their dreams be met, so that they could realize that that's not what they actually want.
Yeah, exactly. And here's another thing to keep in mind. If you live in the West or you lived in a developed country, you're kind of rich already. You know what I mean? To me, there's almost a bit of a danger there, because if you look at our affluent, opulent culture and you start telling people, "Hey, all this materialism's not going to cut it," they might listen to you and start this journey. And guess what would happen? All that kingdom that was built with egoic endeavors would probably start to crumble. So it's like there's almost a risk in it. You know what I mean? It's like, should everybody know? Or should there be a large portion of the populace living what is essentially a life of suffering, chasing goals, chasing materialism, chasing a better partner, chasing more sex, chasing these things? Should that be just happening? Because I mean, it probably keeps the lights on, people stupidly living like that.
Yeah.
You know, and I say stupidly meaning like stupid compared to genius, like averagely.
Yeah.
You know, to some people, I'm like an absolute, couldn't talk to, I'm such a moron. There's people with like triple digit IQs that would be like, I can't even talk to him, he's an idiot. And then there's many of us that are just average, but we're stupid compared to, like, I think Osho's really smart. He's really a lot of people probably barely understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
I don't even know. They're looking with all their heart and soul and mind just to get crumbs of an insight of what he's saying. Don't worry. Don't calm down. Your life's going to come and go, and that's fine. Just keep on the path is what I would say. You know? Keep striving, keep trying,
has said
keep
similar
going.
Has said similar things. Yeah. Just keep showing up. But anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoyed our reaction on this one. If you did, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend, and everyone, until next time, stay spiritual.